Today on the Diz List, we answer your questions about Walt Disney World.
Welcome to the Diz List, the podcast that ranks everything in Walt Disney World. I'm Nick.
And I'm Rob, and welcome to episode 47, where we're going to answer your questions about Walt Disney World.
Hey, before we get to the list, if you've been enjoying the podcast, please take the time to rate us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Also, you can share us with your friends, as Rob likes to say, share us with your friends and your enemies.
Why not?
Sure. I mean, they could probably need a little smile, too.
It'll cheer them up.
We've also, this is our first show recording since we've done this, but we actually just launched our Patreon page.
Yes.
So you can find that by going to any of the links in our bios over on Instagram or Twitter. I'm really excited about it because I honestly, when we launched it, I was like, oh, don't worry. We're not going to have anybody sign on before we end up recording next.
I don't know.
And like 5 minutes later, I get an update and it's like, hey, you have a patron. I was like, uh-oh. Guess.
We did it.
Yeah.
It worked.
Well, we didn't have much. We didn't have like bonus content yet. So we are going to have bonus content coming. In fact, when this show is released, we will already have released bonus content to our patrons. But our patrons will be hearing this before the content's released, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So, do we want to talk about that now, or do we want to talk about that another time? Like,
so,
what if you sign up for this?
So you get early access to new episodes.
So Tuesday instead of Wednesday.
At the very latest Tuesday, correct. Last week I released it on Monday.
Whoa.
Yeah, because we had it.
Weird.
Yeah, so I released it on Monday instead of Tuesday. But what it says is 24 hours early access to new shows. They are ad free, so you won't have to listen to me talk about whatever I'm talking about in the halftime show. Additionally, if you sign up for the Jungle Skipper level, you get bonus content like mini episodes where we'll be discussing things like, deeper discussions of what we're doing for our lists, as well as possibly separate lists that might not be about Disney. So, top 5 condiments.
Oh my God. I think if you're a regular listener, I don't think you need to listen to that episode.
No.
You know what Nick's number one is.
Yes.
Mustard.
So if we can possibly have you go check that out, that'd be great. We also have some patron-only wallpapers that we've posted. We're going to be posting some more of those. We might do some, patron-only like IG Live stuff, but extra content. So that's kind of cool. And cool. Thank you so much to the people who've already joined along. It's been a lot of fun, and it's nice to see people enjoying the show that much.
Definitely.
So actually, I do want to quickly discuss, because I think it's important that at least we talk about it in the public too. We're going to be talking in our first mini about our thoughts about the Star Cruiser.
Oh, yeah.
Because, wow.
This sentence came out of my mouth yesterday to my wife. I go, all right, I'm going to be talking about this in the podcast, but I just got to say this. And I went on to my little tirade, which all of you will hear at some point.
Yeah. Well, all I can say is shocker. Okay? Nothing about what I read shocked me.
All I will say is this. As a enormous Star Wars fan, okay, my high school yearbook quote was "Use the Force."
It would be.
Yeah. So I'm a pretty big Star Wars fan, right? Mm-hmm. When that first came out, and I told you this, I was like, I don't really have any interest.
Yeah.
A Star Wars themed hotel. I was like, I saw kind of what it was. I go, like that's. I watch every Star Wars except for the animated stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. I think that it's not just overpriced. There's some other issues.
Yeah.
But we're going to have a whole deep discussion about that on a mini episode. So again, if you want to hear us go in depth and in detail about our thoughts about the Star Cruiser and why it's in the position it's in and what we think they could have done to possibly save that, you'll have to sign up at patreon.com and go and search up the Diz List podcast and join us there. the Q&A session that we're about to do is something that we have been asked multiple times by some of our followers on Instagram. I'm specifically saying Instagram not because we don't have followers over on Twitter or Facebook or TikTok, but like we consistently get more interaction over on Instagram.
Yeah, and the nice thing about using Instagram is that it's interactive. You can put something where people can actually type things in.
Right, the question stickers, yeah.
I think they may have that on Facebook just because they're part of the same company now.
Yeah.
But it's
I got all of our stuff, everything that I received for questions. Now, I post on every one of our platforms. Everything came from IG. So if you hear me say, an @ it's their Instagram one. Nobody said I couldn't use their name, so buckle up. I'm going to use your name. And then,
well, I think that's a good thing.
But like, here's the great thing about the interactivity with our fans and with our listeners. Oh, that seems so weird calling them fans, but whatever. With our listeners, we had one guy at Tom White IV. I'm going to think it's Tom White the Fourth. But anyway, he actually asked a question in the Q&A of like, what are your top 5 Disney resorts for adults without children? And I was like,
hold up.
Yeah, we are not answering that because that's a whole episode. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
So, Tom, thank you very much. We are going to be recording that episode. I've got it on our list, but it's going to be a little bit pushed back. Well, it's not pushed back, but it's literally I added it as that question came in. So it's sometime in June we'll record that.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
But that's a great question.
Yeah.
But it's a great list because he literally said, "What are your top 5?" And I was like, "Well, sorry, sir, we're not answering that in that episode. We're going to steal your idea and do it a whole episode." So thank you, Tom, for writing us. And then we only got one actually what I consider to be personal question, and I kind of wanted to answer that because I think it's kind of cool to interact with our listeners in a way where this is who we are.
Yep.
And the question was, how long have you been teachers? So, how long have you been a teacher?
I'll start. So I went to college for art, for a 4-year degree for illustration. And I kind of always wanted to work for Disney, either in animation or some type of form. Obviously my whole life I've wanted to work for Disney, and I've been able to draw. And then my senior year, one of my professors says, "Hey, I'm going overseas to Poland, and I would like you to teach my class." So I was like, never thought about that before. So I took on that gig and taught and had some success there. And I thought, I think I can do this. So then went back to school and started teaching, and I've been teaching for 20 years.
That's the first time I've heard the story about the teacher going overseas. Yep. I never heard that story.
It was nice. I mean, honestly, she kind of changed my life. She it was kind of interesting because she was my professor the year before. And I mean, you know me pretty well. She says, you're already running the class. You might as well just teach it.
That sounds about right.
In art school, you do critiques where you put your work up on the wall, and I'll kind of jump in, not be bossy, but just try to be the leader and say, okay, next up, we're going to do this person. What are your thoughts on this piece? And then it just turned out that it naturally turned into.
Yeah, you're like the MC.
I'm the MC. I'm the kind of the ringmaster.
Yeah.
But you try to balance that. You don't want to be bossy. You want to be inclusive, I guess. So anyway, your turn.
Yeah. So I'm a math teacher, and I grew up hating numbers. I hated math all the way through high school. I was like, why would I do this? A calculator can do it for me. I was really good at it. Don't get me wrong. I could have went to school for engineering up the road from where I grew up, and chose instead to go to school to be a journalist. And I was going to be a print journalist, and I went to a school in Ithaca, New York, to be a journalist. And then I was like, I don't like being told what to write and when to write it. What do I want to do? I had a math teacher in high school who was influential in my life as far as making me realize that it wasn't just about calculators, and there's real-world applications to this stuff. And so I wanted to have the same impact. And so I, too, have been teaching for the last 20 years. And Rob and I have actually been teaching together for 15.
15, yeah.
Yeah.
Because you were at a different school. And I've only been at the same school for...
Yeah, so...
same school you've been at. How many different? 3?
I've been at 3 different schools, correct. Yeah. So I taught way upstate New York for a little while. Moved down here because this is where my wife is from. And took the first job I could get when I came down here, and was hoping to get in where I'm at now. And 15 years later, teaching alongside the guy sitting next to me. It's been quite a ride. Now, when we first started teaching together, it was like, okay, well, we've got our whole careers ahead of us, and now we're like, how many days left in our career? No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm not.
Notice, I'm not arguing.
Yeah, so 20 years we've both been teaching, which it's kind of another thing we have in common. Yeah. So we're gonna head off to the halftime show here, and we'll be right back answering your questions about Walt Disney World. This episode, we'd like to give a special shout out to our very first patron, Stacy. She's at exploring.kingdoms over on Instagram. Thank you so much, Stacy, for supporting us. And if you guys are looking to plan your vacation, she's a Disney vacation planner.
Nice.
At exploring.kingdoms over on Instagram.
All right.
Thanks a lot, Stacy.
Want to make a podcast? Spotify's got a platform that lets you make one super easily, then distribute it everywhere and even earn money, all in one place for free. It's called Spotify for Podcasters, and here's how it works. Spotify for Podcasters lets you record and edit podcasts right from your phone or computer. No matter what your setup is like, you can start creating today. Then you can distribute your podcast to Spotify and everywhere else podcasts are heard. Video podcasts are also available on Spotify. When you want to take your conversation with your fans to the next level, Q&A and polls are the best way to get them talking. With Spotify for Podcasters, you can earn money in a variety of ways, including ads and podcast subscriptions. Best of all, it's totally free, and there's no catch. When we discovered Spotify for Podcasters, we unlocked a door to a world where we could celebrate our passion, and we could create a community around what we love. I highly recommend you give it a try. Download the Spotify for Podcasters app or go to www.spotify.com/podcasters to get started.
Welcome back. Today we're going to answer your questions that you submitted to us over on social media, mostly on Instagram. We did get at least one question was actually submitted in person. Right?
Really?
Yeah, the one that you gave me yesterday.
Oh, yeah. Well, she texted me, but then I
that's
saw
kind
her.
of like in person.
Well, she was here last night for the girls were getting ready for the school dance.
Yeah.
So she came over. She's the mother of one of my daughter's friends.
Yeah. So if we can't answer that, I put that one last. That way, if we can't answer the question,
yeah,
I can answer it in person.
Yeah.
But
yes, you can.
But so let's get right to it here. The very first question I want to tackle is something that we get asked a lot,
Yep.
and that is, what is your favorite park for you and your fam, and why? And that is submitted to us by @KCarlisle12 over on Instagram, but it's submitted to us a lot more than just the once. But I did want to give her a shout out. So @KCarlisle12, my family's favorite park is Epcot.
Mine, that's a complicated answer for me. Do you want to elaborate any more on that one?
I wasn't sure.
Your whole family, it's all four?
I would say if I ask my family what park they want to go to the most, they're going to say Epcot. That said, I think they would never be okay with me. They'd be okay with not, if we went for one day, it would be Magic Kingdom.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
But my favorite park is Epcot. My son's favorite park is Epcot. My wife's favorite park is Epcot. My daughter is like the most finicky person in the world at making decisions sometimes, so I could see it vacillating back and forth. The reason it's Epcot is because I feel like it's always different depending on what time of year you go.
Yeah.
Because of all of the festivals.
Yep.
Ever
changing.
And even though it's going through the construction that it's going through, which we've talked about on here.
Yeah.
That's not why I go to Epcot. I go to Epcot for World Showcase. I think the fireworks around World Showcase are great because there's so many different viewing places, and I'm not a big crowd person. I know that's weird that I like Disney and not crowds, but I don't like being packed in like on Main Street when you get packed in for those fireworks as much.
Yeah.
So to me, it's kind of cool just to relax and be able to stand pretty much anywhere in the park. I think the diversity of the park is probably the most diverse park. That's another reason why. I know that for me and for most of my family on most days, Epcot would be our number one pick. You?
So it's different answers for different people in my family. My wife's favorite park is Epcot, like yours.
Yep.
Sometimes I think right now my son's favorite park is Hollywood Studios, which is my least favorite park.
Mine too.
Of the four.
Yep.
My daughter and I both agree that Magic Kingdom is our favorite. Now, for me personally, Magic Kingdom is my favorite by a large margin.
Yeah.
So, again, grew up going there. It's so incredibly special to me. That's my number one. My number two is Epcot. My number three is Animal Kingdom, which I really like too. And I don't dislike Hollywood Studios.
Yeah, we have same orders except for the top two flipped.
Okay. And there's parts of Hollywood Studios I really like a lot, but I don't like the rest of it enough to bring it up past Animal Kingdom, which doesn't have as much to do. I just love the vibe at Animal Kingdom. You know, you feel like you're in a jungle, and I don't know, I love it. And then if you're going out on the West Coast, believe it or not, I think I like California Adventure a little bit better than Disneyland, which sounds ironic because my favorite park is Magic Kingdom, but I think that's why. I think since Magic Kingdom is my favorite, Disneyland just seems like this alternate, different version of it.
Yeah.
And California Adventure is like the cool version of Hollywood Studios.
DCA is what Hollywood Studios should be.
Yes.
So
and could be.
Yeah.
I mean, they could revamp that and
They've got the land.
They could do that whole Pixar Pier area. I mean, it's incredible. I mean, there's nothing like it. I thought it was going to be cheesy, and it was a huge highlight for me. Yeah. So there's my answer for both coasts.
Cool. That also, I already kind of mentioned it. Favorite nighttime show, current or past. This was sent to us by patron Stacy over at exploring.kingdoms. My favorite nighttime show, current or past, is past now, but only by a little bit, and it's Harmonious.
Wow.
I loved that.
It was great.
Show.
I'm glad I was standing next to you for that show. We both loved it. We kept looking at each other going, what is wrong with the internet? This is so good.
Yeah, I loved that show. And I didn't think I was going to. And maybe that's
great.
why maybe that's why it ranks so highly.
Yeah.
I get the love for Happily Ever After.
Yeah, it's a good show, of course.
I get all of that. But my goodness, Harmonious was. Now, I don't think it was good enough to justify those god-awful barges being there all day. Yeah. I wish they had found a way to kind of bring them in and out.
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
So that's my number one all-time nighttime spectacular.
Glad we got to see it.
Yeah. How about you?
Can you predict mine?
I think yours is going to be Happily Ever After.
No.
Really?
You have a shirt of this.
Oh, yes. I forgot. I was thinking fireworks show.
Yeah, my favorite.
So I have not seen it.
Well, it's a nighttime show. It really is.
Yes.
It's a parade.
No,
but
you're 100% right.
It's the Main Street Electrical Parade.
Yeah,
it is so cool.
That's awesome.
It's the movement. Honestly, it's the music too. The music just, it's another one of those earworm songs.
Yeah, it's old school, right? I mean, it's like
love it.
It's like there's a reason that the Nintendo Switch you can go on and still download like the 8-bit Mario,
right?
Because it's nostalgia, and that's great. That whole parade is nostalgia.
And even it has Pete's Dragon in it, and there's like these little, it's like the snails are going around, and it's I don't know, like the lights and the movement. They just I don't know. It's a fantastic show. My favorite nighttime show from the past, which may be coming back. Hopefully it is the Main Street Electrical Parade. I love it.
Yeah, it's timeless. Another one from Stacy that I think ties in here because she said current or past is what ride do you wish would come back? And I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not answering this question because I don't have that childhood experience. I know what your answer is.
No, it would be that answer, but it's actually not that answer.
Okay.
So I think the obvious choice for this is going to be Mr. Toad.
Right.
And bring back Mr. Toad and put it in that spot for Winnie the Pooh.
Okay. That's what I thought.
But I like to think kind of everything and what has changed and what has been replaced. And there's one that's more valuable for me to come back to replace the garbage that's there now. I can handle Winnie the Pooh. I don't hate it. Like Winnie the Pooh is, this is a fun ride.
I know what you're going to say. Now I know what you're going to say.
Yeah. So I got to look at my notes here because I kind of, okay. So in Epcot, if you walk in and on the left-hand side, there are all these really amazing rides that they had that are very similar to Spaceship Earth. They're kind of like it's almost like a slow museum ride. And I would bring back Horizons. And the reason I want to bring back Horizons
That's not what I thought you were going to say.
because because it took over and Mission Space is there. Mission Space I could do without. I did it once. I have no interest in it at all. I would love to bring back something that I could ride and do every single time, and I don't have to worry about throwing up in a bucket after I go on this stupid ride. Or having claustrophobia, because even the one that doesn't spin is like they lock my head in there and I feel like I'm in a tomb. It's like, I don't like it. Anyway, I said like way too many times there. So I think Horizon should come back. I mean, what Horizons is, it's a slow ride through similar to Spaceship Earth, but they're kind of talking about the future. It starts off like, what did Jules Verne want for the future? And here's what that vision looked like, and here's what the future looked like in the 1950s. So bring those two things back and now create these different versions of what the future could be. And it's just, again, like Spaceship Earth, a slow ride through with a cool narration. I think they had a male and female like talking back and forth and discussing different points as you rode through the ride. So if you are not familiar with it, watch a YouTube ride through of it. It's not mega exciting, but I don't always need excitement all the time. Sometimes I want a good air conditioned, slow moving ride. Mm-hmm. So maybe a hot take. Yes, I love Mr. Toad. It's one of my favorite rides. I'd love to bring that back, but I would love to replace something that I think is bad.
So when you first said Epcot,
yeah,
and then you said turn left, I was like, wait a second. Am I turned around?
World of Motion?
I thought you were going to say they need to bring back the original Figment, but...
well, some Figment's better than no Figment.
True. No, I agree with you. So I'm not, like I said, I'm not answering that question because I have not been a Disney person long enough. However, if I were to say...
When you go on a Tiana, you'd have that answer.
Yeah, well, yeah, but I don't necessarily want Splashback.
Yeah, true.
I don't dislike Splash, but I'm excited for what
I
they're
agree
doing.
with you, and I'm not saying that you would want to have Splashback. I'm not putting words in your mouth. I'm just saying that would be
the only one that's gone
away that you've seen.
Yeah.
Or, geez, there's a bunch. I don't want to get into all that. We got a lot of good questions to answer today.
Yeah.
But that's my 2 cents on that.
So speaking of things that are no longer there, our friend Jessica commented over on Instagram. She's also a patron, by the way.
Hi, Jessica.
She asked, do you check the refurb list before a trip?
Yeah, I got a story for that.
My family does not usually like specifically seek out the refurb list. The big hitters usually make the news, like the social media news anyway.
Yeah.
But I don't usually check the refurb list. It's honestly, because we're DVC members and we're going back, would we be disappointed if our favorite ride was closed down? Yep. But we know we're going back, so I'm not super concerned.
That's a perfect transition into exactly what I was going to say. When we went out west to Disneyland, we got some good news, bad news. So the Matterhorn was down, and I wanted to do the Matterhorn because they were refurbishing it, and it's a ride that you can't do in Disney World. So luckily, that ride went back online, and Big Thunder Mountain went offline. So it was kind of a trade-off. We got to do a ride that you can't do in Disney World, and we got to do the Matterhorn, which was, bumpy and clunky, but fun. I was just glad that we got to do one. I really wanted to do Big Thunder, and it's my daughter's favorite.
Mm-hmm.
But we just, we roll with the punches, I guess. So, but yeah, we do look at that refurbish, and sometimes it's sad to see that, but maybe it's almost better that you know in advance. So if it's one of your kids' favorite rides is down, you can prep them before you get there instead of walking up and having, bursting into tears as you walk up to Thunder Mountain and it's down,
Yeah, the refurb list isn't something, like I said, isn't something that I usually am glued to make sure that I, know that it's closed or not. I think for me, mostly though, I just know that I follow enough on social media that like if it's a big deal, I'm going to know about it.
Yeah.
So the next question we got is from Colin Page over on Instagram.
Yeah.
And this one's actually a very, very good question. I think we have the
same answer because we've done this together.
So it says, individual lightning lane or Genie Plus, and what is your strategy?
Can we do the quickest definition before we move on for any new listeners?
Absolutely, because we forget to do that all the time.
Right, and I need to be better about that too. And please let us know if we're talking about something like my buddy Brian asked me the other day, what's the TTC? And obviously we can't be using those. We have to explain it's the Transportation and Ticket Center.
Or is it the Ticket and Transportation Center?
I don't know. The Transport Ticket Center?
Yeah, I don't know. I always question myself which direction it is. It's the place where you get transported and you can buy tickets.
Yes.
And it's a center, the TTC.
So the individual lightning lane is when you go into the app and you purchase, you're guaranteed to go on the ride.
Correct.
So,
well, as long as it's up.
Let's use an example. So you can buy an individual lightning lane for
Rise.
Sure. Rise of Resistance. You purchase it. This is what we did. We purchased that, so we knew we were guaranteed to go on it for the most part. I mean, or it could go down, and then I don't know what happens.
Yeah, Rise is one that you're more likely, if you're going to have one that you can't ride, even though you purchase individual lightning lane, that's going to be the one. I mean, I don't know how that works, if they refund you or if they give you like
I was wondering that
an experience. But Guardians is another one where you can buy an individual lightning lane.
So Len Testa said on a recent podcast, this guy knows a lot about this. He said that Rise of the Resistance is down for an average of 2 hours a day.
Yep.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So we purchased, back to our answer here, we purchased an individual lightning lane for Rise of the Resistance, knowing that we got that because it's one of our top favorite rides.
Mm-hmm.
Got that ride. So then we also purchased Genie Plus. So do you want to explain? This is kind of your idea, so I'll give you credit.
So first of all, let me discuss, because Disney has not done us any favors. You have Genie. That's everybody has that.
Right. That basically gives you suggestions for your day.
You have Genie Plus. That's what you pay. It's a variable price depending. I think yesterday I checked and it was like $18 yesterday.
Which is similar to the old Fast Pass system.
Right. And that one you can start making lightning lane selections at 7 in the morning, I think it is.
Yeah.
Then there is individual lightning lane, which is the individual ride.
You're paying money just for that one ride.
So we purchased, like Rob said,
both
on a given day. And
for Hollywood Studios, it works really well there.
Right. So the answer to the question is
depends on the park.
Yeah. And the question was, what's your strategy? So I will give you the strategy that Rob was just talking about. Our strategy on that day was, let's knock out Rise. And then I immediately, as he was getting our individual lightning lane boarding groups for Rise.
Right. We were in our individual neighboring hotel rooms.
Yep.
And I get a text from Nick. He's like, "You ready?" I'm like, "Yep, ready to go." So it clicked 7:00. I pressed the button to get the individual lightning lane, and Nick pressed the button for Genie Plus. Is that how do we do it that way?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I couldn't remember if it was that way. So we flipped it.
So Rob was able to get our boarding groups for individual lightning or for Rise. Meanwhile, I was able to secure a lightning lane through Genie Plus, an early lightning lane for Slinky Dog.
Yep, that worked out great.
So as a result, we now had the two, what I would consider to be the big hitters on that side of the park, out of the way.
Yep.
That meant that as a result, when we rope dropped, we didn't need to worry about Rise. We didn't need to worry about Slinky Dog. So we rope dropped that day, Midway Mania, I believe.
Yeah, it wasn't Mickey and Minnie. We went right to Midway Mania.
Midway Mania, and then we went from Midway Mania to Alien Swirling Saucers.
Yep.
And then we went over because it was an early, we were supposed to go from there. We were going to do our Slinky Dog, but the line over at, because we were in early entry still.
Yeah.
So we then went, because of the wait at the time, we went over and did Millennium Falcon.
Yep. And
Smuggler's Run.
And then we went off and we did breakfast separate. We went to, not Docking Bay 7, Ronto Roasters. We got breakfast at Ronto Roasters, and you went to...
Toy Box, or the Woody's Lunchbox.
Yes. Right.
From there, we did our Slinky Dog Dash.
Yep.
Tried to do Rise. Rise was down.
Yeah.
So we said, okay, no big deal. We already tapped in at that point. I think when we tapped in for our... Slinky Dog, we then played the slots. Thank you, Ear Scouts Rob and Eric.
Mm-hmm.
We then took and went and did. I think we scored Minnie and Mickey's at that
Yes,
point.
we did.
And we were able to go and do that. By the time we were done with that, I think Rise had opened back up.
Yeah.
We did Rise. Short story turning long. We were done with everything in that park by 1 o'clock.
Yeah, it was great.
So, I mean, well, all the rides, not the shows.
Yeah.
Although we did, I think the girls went off and did a show, I believe.
They did Frozen. I can't
Okay.
remember what we did.
I don't recall, but
Oh, no, I do. We did Rock and Roller Coaster, and that was the 4 people in my family,
yep.
plus you and your son, and then your wife and your daughter went and did Frozen, I think. Is that right?
I can't remember it necessarily, but I can tell you that if I'm going to Hollywood Studios, I'm buying both.
Yeah.
Now,
I know we're getting in the weeds.
to fully answer the question, I think Epcot is I don't think you need to buy an individual Lightning Lane for Guardians unless it's a super packed day. So I would go with, if I'm going to buy anything, it's Genie Plus. And I don't know that I buy Genie Plus at Epcot.
I wouldn't. Because the lines are not really long. You don't have to wait long for.
If you play your
maybe if it was a busy day.
Yeah, if you play your rope drop strategy well there, I don't think you need to worry about it.
No.
I think Animal Kingdom is another one that it depends on the crowd calendar and depends on your travel party.
Yeah.
So it depends on how important like Flight of Passage is for you. But Magic Kingdom, Genie Plus is the most worth it.
Yes.
Because
Definitely.
there's so many rides that they still have availability late into the day. I think with both Animal Kingdom and Hollywood Studios, if you're not careful, you could get caught having no selections left.
Yep.
Because there's so few rides. But at Magic Kingdom, that's never going to happen. And a strategy I saw that I'm going to try this summer is you go use early entry over at Animal Kingdom. You do your thing. You've got Genie Plus, rope drop Flight of Passage, and maybe you pick up a Genie Plus here or there over there. But then mid-morning you decide,
Park
okay,
hop.
we're going to be park hopping. So now I'm stacking over at Magic Kingdom.
Cool.
Because
Yeah,
those are available late. So
that's great.
So I'm sorry that was a really roundabout, in the weeds kind of answer to that question. But it really does depend on the park, I think.
We did, in the West Coast, we did Genie Plus both days. We purchased it both days. And we bought an individual Lightning Lane for Radiator Springs racers. So since I like to answer for our West Coast people too, because I know we have a couple people who do that, we did Genie Plus for Disneyland, worked out great. And I did both for California Adventure. So there's the answer for that one. So hopefully that answers everybody's questions, and we're always happy to do that. And again, a shout out to our friends at Ear Scouts who do a fantastic job. If you have any questions on how Genie Plus works or anything related to that, go onto YouTube or you can find them on social media. But Rob and Eric do an awesome job explaining how it works. I mean, we most of what we learned from them. They do such a good job. So thanks to those guys.
Yeah, I do want to. I'm going to skip ahead in our questions because we just talked about Ear Scouts. Eric actually sent me a message yesterday on Instagram.
Cool.
And said that Rob had told him to ask a question.
Sure did.
Was he talking about you?
No, me.
Yeah, okay.
I was talking to him.
Okay, you were talking to him. Okay, I wasn't sure which Rob he was saying.
This Rob.
Okay.
Me.
So he asked what our favorite hidden Mickey is.
Oh, boy.
So that's a tough one.
That is a tough one.
I'm going to put that out in the ether now.
Sure.
We can think about it while we're answering the other questions because that's a hard one.
Yeah.
And I could see us taking a little while. Okay? Because I forgot to add that to our list that we prepped.
Sure.
So I just want to put that out there. Eric, we're going to answer your question before the end of the show.
Sounds good.
All right. So
I like that.
Yeah.
Keep me on my toes.
Yeah. So the next question is, what experience have you never done that is now a must-do on the next trip?
Oh, boy. I made a list.
Yeah. Oh, really? Wow.
Well, there's not a lot of things that I have not done.
So since you have a list, I'm just going to tell you mine because it's 100%. So my wife is the one who submitted this question, and this is her way of making me lock in that we're doing this. That's what I think. I think she's being sly.
Is it a ride that's a 4-letter word?
So there are a ride that's a 4-letter word.
Tron.
Oh, no. I mean, it is a must-do, but it's not like...
I guess Light Cycle Run is not a 4-letter word.
Yeah. So it's the animation experience, for sure.
Oh.
100% we're doing that.
It's
Now,
cool.
I will say that
You'll
we're
love
also going to be doing 100% living with the land behind the seeds tour.
Behind the seeds.
Yep. So we'll be doing that. And we've been talking a little bit. I'm not locking in on this one yet, but it would be good for some content, I said, is potentially Caring for Giants, the tour over at Animal Kingdom where you go backstage with the elephants.
Oh, cool.
So that's a possibility. It's actually very well priced when you consider it. Living with the Land, Behind the Seeds, and Caring for the Giants are both hour-long tours, hour-long experiences, and both only cost $35. I say only, but that's not a lot.
Wow, I did not expect that number.
Yeah, so it's...
Oh, cool.
So those are 3 things that I think are a possible must-do for our next trip.
What I haven't experienced, I guess I didn't realize how good that Beauty and the Beast thing is at Magic Kingdom that you told me about. Why not? I mean, our kids are really open to anything. They're not like, I don't want to do that. My kids are not like that. They're great. They'll do whatever we want to do.
They would buy in big time, especially because your kids both are, well, especially your son being involved with the drama club.
Yeah, and well, my daughter used to be. She was in the Matilda play, but Tron is on that list. I think Moana will be open by the time that we get back there. Animal Kingdom, I haven't seen the new version of the Nemo show, so I'd like to check that off my list. Hollywood Studios, I've always, and I know you're not interested in this, but I think it looks so cool, is the sci-fi dine-in. He's shaking his head.
Yeah, no way.
I think it's so cool. I love that vibe. I like the 1950s like horror movies and the drive-in. Love it.
If I wanted to be a host of Mystery Science Theater 3000.
See, but I love that stuff though. I that's been on my list for a while, and we had reservation for that, and that was during our trip we had to cancel at the beginning of COVID. I'm trying to think of what else. Oh, Phantasmic I haven't seen. I haven't seen it at either park, so it's something I've always wanted to check out.
That's amazing.
That's a must too. So
you won't be seeing it in Disneyland for some time.
Yeah, I read today that they're going to stop doing it for a bit.
Yep. So that's those are all good things that you should definitely add to your next trip.
Yep.
This next one is a food question. We're transitioning over to food.
Okay.
And this next one is a question we're often asked, and I think everybody who goes to Disney has asked this. Joffrey's or Starbucks?
I'll start. So we cannot get Joffrey's in Western New York.
Correct.
It's not around here. It's kind of like we have Tim Hortons. Tim Hortons is a restaurant chain that started up in Canada.
For sure, eh?
And it's written, oh my Lord. It was started by a famous hockey player, Tim Horton, and it's kind of gone around the Northeast. I don't know how far south it goes, but for example, that's something that when people a lot of times come to Western New York, they want to have Tim Hortons because they can't get it anywhere else.
It's either Dunkin' or Timmy Ho's.
Yeah, right. But Dunkin' is, it's all over the country now,
Yeah.
and I love Dunkin' Donuts. And so Starbucks we have around. So for me, I would choose Joffrey's, not necessarily because it's better or worse, just because it's different. And I'll be completely honest, if I need coffee, whatever the closest is where I'm going to go to. So I would pick Joffrey's for that reason, but I'm not anti-Starbucks either.
Yeah, my answer was both as well, because I am a coffee person and I just want coffee in the morning. And honestly, especially if this summer we're staying in a 1-bedroom DVC, so we have a full kitchen. So I will make coffee in my room and probably take it with me.
Yeah.
Starbucks is probably my favorite between the two. Starbucks at Disney is not, because Starbucks at Disney is longer than any line you'll ever wait at normal Starbucks. And normal Starbucks are notoriously horribly long anyway, but the Disney ones are ridiculous. So personally, Joffrey's.
And here's another part that I just thought of that I didn't even have in my notes. When I'm going to Disney, usually I'm getting iced coffee a lot of times. If it's midday, early in the morning, I'll do hot coffee, but I'll do iced coffee midday. And I actually prefer the Joffrey's because the Starbucks iced coffee is a little, and I like sugar and flavoring in my coffee, but it's almost like their iced coffee is too sweet for me in the middle of the day.
Yeah, I mean, I drink
want
my
more
coffee.
Caffeine.
All my coffee, whether it's iced, which is very, very rare that I get iced coffee, is black. So I don't know that.
I just do cream and sugar in my coffee.
Yeah.
It's I would say what you do is pretty standard, but I'm pretty meat and potatoes where I'm coffee, cream, sugar.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So sticking with this dining and this the food and beverage side of things, at Melissa McD19 over on Instagram asked, best restaurants for people traveling with a picky eater.
Oh, I got.
And I was
I
like,
got this.
and because I forgot you might have some picky eaters. I'm gonna answer mine, and I'm gonna let you go.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say that
I got one for each.
I'm gonna say that for me, the best across property is gonna be Sunshine Seasons
I can't say it either.
in Epcot.
Shuns.
Yeah, right.
Sunshine Seasons.
Yeah.
You try saying it at home right now, out loud.
Yeah.
Sunshine Seasons. Try it.
Yeah.
You'll goof it up.
Yeah,
See?
absolutely.
You goofed it up.
So sunshine, people are driving down their car,
And they're saying it
this.
wrong, and they're like, "Oh my God, I did say it wrong."
Yeah, so Sunshine Seasons is probably my number one thing that is best for picky eaters, just because there's such a variety. And then beyond that, I would say any buffet.
Oh, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
That's great.
So, but that's so go ahead.
Well, my direction was burgers and chicken fingers places.
Okay,
Because generally picky kids will eat a burger, fries, chicken fingers. That's right. Wouldn't you say most picky eaters are like, I only like to eat those three things?
So there's two kinds of picky eaters.
Sure.
Like my son is a picky eater in the sense that like if it's not the right kind of chicken finger, he doesn't want it.
Sure. And
Like-
that's even tougher.
Like
But some
he-
kids, or mac and cheese I'd put on that list too. I'd say
Yeah.
those are the big four.
yeah.
Fries, burgers, chicken fingers, mac and cheese are like
Yeah.
the four.
Yeah, I would agree. I would
Yeah.
agree.
So, and this has nothing to do with gluten ingredients. This is just like straight up what I think is going to work best for kids. Your best chance for kids to eat the food, the most like normal, typical American style food are these four places, depending on what park you're at. And I'll say whether they're good or bad too. So if you're at Magic Kingdom, Cosmic Rays is okay. All right. That's, burger joint that's over in Tomorrowland. In Epcot, Connections Cafe, right near the entrance, is really good.
Yeah.
This is the best of the ones I'm telling you.
Yeah, I don't know if I would have put that on the picky eater list.
Oh, you can
because
get
it's-
anything there.
because it's unique at first. What I'm saying is, I
Yeah.
don't know if I would have put it there.
No, but
And
yours
now
is
I'm
good too because there's more options.
No,
At
I
Sunshine
think you're
Seasons.
right. I just
Nailed it.
I forgot. Yes, yes, I said you were right.
No, I nailed it. I said it correctly. That's why I said nailed it. Animal Kingdom. This place is not the greatest, but kids will eat it, and that's Restaurantosaurus.
Oh my
It's
God.
another burger joint. It's not. It's definitely the worst on our list, but kids don't care. It's a hamburger. They'll eat a hamburger here, and this one is decent. And this is kind of one of our hidden gems at Hollywood Studios. And I know you agree with me. Backlot Express.
I don't disagree. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's decent food there.
Yeah, I was shocked.
Yeah.
Because I had not heard good things, and I've heard it's actually gotten better in the last couple
Yeah.
of years here.
So there's my quick hitters there for picky eaters.
Yeah. So now we move to the point in the show where we have some questions that are a little bit funnier that I think. So for those of you who've been following along, you know how we joke that I went on one and only one trip because I was only going once, and Rob said nope, and he was right.
Now we have the exact same story.
So then a friend of ours, Brian, a friend of Rob's, Brian, he's a friend of the show, so he's a friend of ours.
I've known him since I was a kid.
Yeah, he's also a patron. Thanks, Brian. But Brian also said, I'm only going once. We're like, yeah, okay, sure. And
Yep.
he is now a patron to a Disney podcast.
And what was Brian's question, Nick?
Brian's question was, how soon is too soon to go back? And I don't know if this was submitted in jest to be like, yeah, you guys were right, or submitted it seriously. So I'm going to tackle it in both ways.
Sure.
In jest, it's never too soon to go back. In all seriousness, I think that going in a different season is important so you get multiple aspects of Epcot. I have not been able to yet to experience Epcot during one of the other festivals, the only festival I've seen. So I've seen it non-festival Epcot, and I've seen Food and Wine Festival Epcot. My next goal is to see it in Festival of the Arts or Flower and Garden. Preferably Festival of the Arts. So to me, I think every 6 months, I think is probably a good, I don't know that I would want to go back right away. And here's why. Planning purposes.
Yeah.
So unless you're really good at juggling stuff, you're planning so far in advance that I think that 6 months is going to put you so that you're not overly stressed.
Or, I mean, if you have an annual pass too,
Right.
That's a totally different story.
Yeah. So if I'm being honest, how soon is too soon? Anything before 6 months because of the amount of planning that goes into it, unless you're super organized, in which case I do think whenever you can get back, get back.
I don't really even have much to add. I would say the exact same thing. I mean, a lot of it too is how soon.
Yeah.
I guess the only thing I would say is, do your kids get sick of things really quick? If you go back too quick, maybe like, we just did that. It depends on your kids too.
Mm-hmm. And then another one that I'm not sure if this was like a ha ha ha, or if this was like, seriously, how much is too much? At Jay Blasem asked, how many trips per year is too much?
Yeah. I mean, I took that as a serious question too.
I think so too.
I mean, we are both teachers, and we both try to do jobs on the side to help fund our Disney trips. We don't have tons of money in the bank. We do the best we can to try to go once a year. If we can go twice, great. There's one year we did go twice, and it's because we had a friend who offered up their timeshare, so it kind of
Gotcha.
It gave us an opportunity to stay for free, and then we drove. So we flew in April, and then we drove down in August. So our cost obviously was gas and food and park tickets, but it made it much cheaper for your average person who's a teacher or whatever that could afford it. So we tried to make that happen.
Yeah. So how much do you think? Twice?
I would say for me personally, 3 would be too much because we'd be broke. So I would go by too much by the measure of our bank account. I'd like to try to squeeze in a trip to Disney World by the end of the year. We're trying to see if we can make that work financially. We'd like to try to see, if possible, to be able to check off my bucket list of doing all 6 U.S. parks in 1 year. We'll see.
Okay. So my cop-out answer is that the number of times you go in a year is dependent upon you. And so
that's a great answer, actually.
So for me,
yeah,
how many trips per year is too much? I think for me, it would probably be more than 3. So 3, I don't think I'd have an issue with. 4, I think would start getting to be like tough. And that goes back to the whole planning issue.
Yeah.
That I would just constantly feel like my head was on a swivel trying to plan that. If you're more local and you can get there a little bit easier and not have to worry about the planning side of things, like how am I going to fly and how all those things, I think that number could go up. That's why I say it really depends on you.
It's weird. I was thinking about this the other day before I even had this question. Like, okay, I'm retired and I'm staying in Florida for 3 months in the winter, right? I'm like, how often am I going to want to go? I could see myself going 2 or 3 days out of the week.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, even to just walk for exercise.
Yeah.
Imagine just going every week to Epcot and just walking.
There's a couple on YouTube, and they also have a podcast that I've recently been watching a lot because they do some really good dining reviews. And that's what they work from home. They're travel agents, and that's what they do for their exercise. Is they like, oh, today we're going to go and walk the Magic Kingdom, or we're going to go to Epcot and walk around the World Showcase 3 times, or they'll drive to TTC, and they will walk from the TTC all the way over to Magic Kingdom, turn around, and come back. So because you can do that, you can walk from TTC through the Polynesian,
can
over to Grand Floridian.
Oh, we did it. Remember?
And then turn around and come back. Well,
that's a story for another time.
Yeah. So Rob's done it.
Yeah. In the dark.
Yes. So then our next question is now we have to answer the question that Eric asked, which is, what's your favorite hidden Mickey?
All right. Favorite hidden Mickey. Do you want to go first, or do you want me to go for this one?
I can go first. Mine's kind of a big picture one.
Sure.
It's huge.
Yeah, mine is too.
I wonder which one's bigger then, because mine is the solar panels, or are the solar panels over at in Disney World that are shaped in a hidden Mickey, the solar panel array.
This is going to be interesting because mine's probably going to be close in size to yours. That is cool.
Yeah. So I just pulled up a picture to show Rob.
Okay.
If you haven't, take a second to Google it. It's a massive solar panel array in the shape of a hidden Mickey.
Wow.
Well, not hidden Mickey. It's massive, so it's not hidden.
Wow. Okay. This is cool because mine is very similar, and I'm curious. Now I'm curious which one is bigger.
Well, this one's as big as beach and yacht put together. So, I mean, it's big.
Okay. Yeah, yours is bigger. This is cool. So if you look at an aerial view of Hollywood Studios with the Chinese theater at the bottom, I won't use north and south to confuse people who listen. So Chinese theater is at the bottom and the entrance is at the top. If you look at an aerial view, you actually have a hidden Mickey Mouse. It's really cool.
Well,
so
that one's cool.
Nick, take a look.
That one's cool because the eyes are there and the nose is there.
Yeah.
Like, it's really cool.
Yeah, Google that one. Google Hollywood Studios hidden Mickey, maybe aerial view. I don't know what I even typed in. Yeah.
That's a great one. So, Eric, thank you for your question. It was quite inspired. He said he wasn't feeling very inspired, but I think that was quite inspired.
Definitely.
That was a great question.
Yeah.
This next one, we've done a whole episode on this,
Mm-hmm.
but this next question was the one that was submitted by a local friend, and it was can you explain DVC rental points for a newbie is what I believe they were referencing when they said, I've heard you can like get points to stay there.
Sure. And I'll give you a little bit of context because this kind of came from me. I had a conversation with our friend Chris, and she is looking to take a trip this summer and wanted some ideas of different resorts. And I was talking to her on the phone, and one of the things I said was, if you would like to stay at one of these deluxe resorts, you can rent points and it's much cheaper.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I suggested a couple different resorts, and she seemed interested in, I don't know if this is going to guide you either way, but she seemed interested in Old Key West and Saratoga Springs.
Well, I'm glad you said that because it's this summer, you said?
Yes.
Yeah. So the other ones would be probably the hardest to get into at this point for this summer. So either way, so I will try my best to explain this. I'm a DVC owner, but you can rent out DVC points. So a lot of the rooms, if they're not booked by other DVC members, Disney can either rent them, either put them on cash, basically cash basis. You don't want to do that because it's a lot of money. But they also, not Disney, but there are also sites like DVC Rental Store, David's, I think the DVC store does, and I think DVCshop.com does as well. We're not sponsored or affiliated with any of them, so that's why I'm trying to list them all off so I don't make it sound like I'm playing favorites here. But if you go and search DVC rentals, you will be able to find this. And DVC rentals are usually, now they're like anywhere from $18 to $22 a point. For Saratoga and Old Key West, I'm thinking you could probably get them in the $18 a point range, especially since you're within the 7-month mark at this point. And what a rental means is you're paying someone like me, an owner, to rent their points because maybe I can't go this year, or I've chosen to go somewhere else and I want to use the money from my points that I rent out to go on that trip. So you'll pay for your DVC points much like you would anything else. So you'll get this third-party vendor. They will talk to the owners who've signed up to rent their points and say, hey, this person wants to stay in a 1-bedroom at Old Key West, or a 1-bedroom over at Saratoga, or a studio, or a 2-bedroom. And this is how many points they need. Will you rent them to them? Yes, I will. And then whatever that cost is will be told to the person looking to rent. So let's say it's, 250 points. Take and multiply that by, we'll go nice and easy for people, $20 a point. Okay. So now you're looking at $5,000 if you're looking at 250 points at $20 a point. But if you then look at it for rack rate, if you looked at what it would cost through Disney, it's going to be anywhere from like $7,000 to $8,000.
Yep.
250 points is a lot of points. Don't get me wrong. That's a lot of points. For a normal stay, you're probably not going to use that many points, but you could. And so you rent those out, or you rent them from somebody, and then you're staying at a lot cheaper. So that's kind of like the newbie. Like
Well, I did it once, and I had a completely different experience because I literally rented them from Nick.
Yeah.
So it was, hey, I don't know what we did if we wrote you a check or venue mowed you the money, but that's not the normal way to do it. So yes, I've rented points.
Yeah, if you know
but
somebody,
not through a company, and I would highly recommend if it's someone you don't know that you go through a company. Otherwise, it could be.
Yeah, I mean,
kind of difficult.
Yeah, I did go through.
You did. That's why I said that.
Yeah, looking back, I'm shocked that I did. But I did go through an individual party that I didn't know. But I also had plenty of information that I could have tracked him down if I needed to. So it's up to, there's lots of different ways to go. I do think the safest way is to go through a third party. You are paying a little bit of an upcharge. Like I didn't charge Rob $20 a point to go to Poly, but he would have paid that through David's, and he would have paid that through DVC rental store.
Yeah, because those companies have to make their money too.
Right. So they turn around and would pay me, $16 or $17. So you just figure out, okay, well, I'm willing to give them to David's. So if I'm willing to give them to David's, if you just want to give me what David's would give me, then it's saving you money and I'm making the same amount of money.
Yep.
So, that's kind of what we did. But you can rent points from people, and then you're just they make the reservation for you. So it's kind of odd, right? You're not the one, and then they give you the reservation number, and you tie it right in with your My Disney experience.
Yep. Which is important too. Like if you ever work with like a travel agent, which we have before, we worked with AAA, and you'll get that confirmation number and you plug it into My Disney Experience or onto the website. Once you have that number, it's going to show up just like it would any other reservation. So
yeah.
I got that number from Nick, and it showed right up, and it said you're staying at the Polynesian. And it was very easy. Yeah,
the only other issue is like if you need something added on to that reservation once it's made, you need to go through that individual. So if you need to change something, if you're looking to change resorts or change dates, you would have to go through the person. So if you're going through a third party, you would contact them. They would contact the owner. The owner would make the reservation change because it shows up in our DVC dashboard.
So food and like food reservations and park tickets is completely separate.
Yeah. I mean like changes. To
and I know that. I'm saying for the people that haven't done it, it's not difficult to do. And again, that's one of the cool things about Nick and I doing this podcast together is we have knowledge of things that the other doesn't, and our combined powers can be very helpful.
Did we just summon Captain Planet?
We did.
By our powers combined?
I think we just powered up.
So for anybody who finds that DVC discussion interesting, we actually did an episode a while back about DVC. So, you can go back into our back catalog, take a listen to that. And if I still didn't answer your questions in that episode, you can reach out on Instagram at DizListPod, or you can send us an email even because I'm probably going to get a little wordy about DVC. I can talk to you for days about it.
It's interesting, though. And I mean, honestly, today it's kind of funny. We started off talking about math because you're rattling off numbers. It was great. Don't get me wrong. It's not my forte at all. So I'm glad I have you when it comes to the number stuff. You're always very helpful.
Yeah, but like for a week at Poly, right? It was 153 points for a week in a standard view. So if you're looking to stay at the Poly rack rate, you're probably going to pay $700 to sometimes $900 a night for 153 points for a standard view room, DVC, $20 a point. You're looking at just over $3,000. That is a steal.
Yeah,
to stay at the Poly.
Yeah, it was. Like you're not a no-brainer for us.
And that's at $20 a point. So, but this has been a great episode. I've enjoyed answering your questions. I know maybe we went into the weeds at times, and maybe some of our answers sparked new questions. So send us those too, and we'll try our best. And again, we love interacting with fans and listeners. So at DizListPod on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, you can find us there. YouTube, we post our audio version of our show over there, but not a video version. So you could interact with us anywhere that you find us on social media. You can email us, dizlistpodcast@gmail.com. And our newest thing is the Patreon page.
Yeah.
So please check that out. New episodes are released early. And then so there's two different levels. We have the Dumbo pilot, which is, basically new releases are early, and then we have the Jungle Skipper, which means you get the early release, you get some shout outs, and you also get
Access to the exclusive
access
stuff.
to bonus content.
Yep.
So, but it's a great, big, beautiful tomorrow. Tomorrow's just a list away.
Tune in next time, and we'll see you real soon.